Hi there, I'm Angela. Welcome to the channel, or welcome back, and welcome to part 4 of my cargo pants series. And today it's all about deconstruction. I'm going to be taking apart one of my existing pairs that I'm using to base the new pair off of. If that sounds interesting, stay tuned. Hey y'all, thanks so much for stopping in today. If you've been following along this cargo pants series, I hope that you're finding it interesting. It has been pretty interesting to me so far because I've never done anything like this before. I did take apart a tank top one time that fit really well, and I used that as like a pattern for other tank tops. That was pretty easy. It was just the front and the back, a knit top. No, it was like easy peasy. Nothing was difficult about that. With these pants, it's adding a whole new layer of complexity. So what I'm doing in these videos, this series, is just kind of working my way through the process and taking you guys along with me. So thanks for hanging out with me while I figure this out. Today's video may just end up being a lot of deconstruction. I'm going to be taking apart the pair that I already have store-bought that fits me really well. It's going to be the basis for the new cargo pants pattern. So if you're ready, let's do it. The pair that I'm going to start with is my favorite pair. I actually have two of these, this kind of seafoam green color and a navy blue one. I'm going to use the seafoam green one as the one that I deconstruct just because I love the navy blue one a lot better and I don't want to risk destroying that. So what I'm going to do, and I learned this tip from one of you guys who suggested that when you're going to use an existing item of clothing to be a pattern, to use it as the basis for a new pattern, that what she does at least is cut the garment like exactly in half. And that way you can use one side to draft your pattern pieces onto the tissue paper, and then the other side stays intact, so you can always have that as a reference for construction details. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and do that with this pair. And I think I'm going to pull the drawstring out first. You can see where the drawstring had broken at one point and I tied it back together. These pants have gotten a lot of wear. I love them so much, but I'm willing to sacrifice them in order to have a good pattern that I can make a new pair anytime I want. And actually new and improved with the drawstrings in there tight. I think I'm just going to skip that part and I'll just cut the drawstring in half on the back side. So here goes. And I'm just cutting it pretty much right down the seam line here to get perfectly equal halves. All right, there we go. And what is interesting about this pair, the right side has a back pocket and the left side does not, but the left side has the cargo pocket. So that's one of the things that I didn't like about this pair that I can change as I remake them. So what I think the next step is going to be is to just continue to cut this. If I pick one of these sides for my pattern and then the other side, leave it together so that it can be reference for construction details, so that the whole thing's not totally apart and then I'm left wondering, how did they do this, or what should I do here? The bottom of the pants leg is cuffed with a little button there, so I'm going to go ahead and unbutton that. Easier said than done. And roll the pants leg out. Cutting it right down the seam line here. And I can use these pieces to trace onto my tissue paper and create new pieces, adding in the seam allowance, of course. That was the inside leg, and now I'm going to cut down the outside leg. And I think I'm just going to try to cut right around this button. So I probably should take the button off. I can always save that. I'll be right back. So I went to get my seam ripper, and I'm going to just get this button off of here. And whether I reuse it for my new cargo pants or I just put it in my button collection, not sure yet. It'll be one or the other. This puppy's on here. There we go. Set that aside. And now I'm going to cut down the outer leg seam. Well, silly me, there was another button on the inside that's now kind of destroyed. Not sure what the purpose of that one is. I'm just going to cut this little flap right off. I don't need to save it for sure at this point. Now I've gotten up to the waistband here, and I'm thinking best thing would be to cut this waistband off. Because out of the 3 pairs that I have and wear regularly and that I'm basing my new pair off of, these ones, this one that I'm cutting right now by far is my favorite and the best fitting of all of them. That's why it's going to be used as the base. And then I'll just add in features from the other pants. So I've got my waistband and the front and the back. So then what I'm left with is just the individual pieces, and I need to iron this down. I think I've worn these like right before I started to, I wore these a couple of days ago and they haven't been washed. So I'll give them a good pressing before I trace the pattern pieces off of this. So for now, that's all I'm going to do with this pair. And I'm going to do the same thing with the second pair that I'm using some of the features from. Be right back. So this is my second pair that I like some of the features here on the front legs. And these fit, but they don't fit as well. So I'm not as concerned about using these as the template for new pattern pieces. What I want to use these for is just to really look at the construction, because I do want to add an open pocket like this is and a zippered pocket. And I really kind of like the way this front pocket is made as well. So this one will strictly be for design features, just looking at how it's all put together. And one kind of interesting feature about these pants, this bottom portion here is, it looks like it's a separate piece stitched together like just below the knee. And then going up the pants, there's this side here that's plain, and then this little section here which has all the pockets on it. So that's a really interesting construction method and I like it a lot. So I'm going to try to mimic this in the new pants, at least on one of the legs. So I thought for this one, to see what we're working with, turn it inside out. And it definitely does look like that bottom below the knee portion is a separate piece that's been stitched together. And right now I've got my hand in that open pocket, which I love. On the new pair that I'm creating, this open pocket will be a lot deeper than this. To look at the leg that's still right side out. So this is that open pocket and it stops there. I would like for it to come at least a couple inches deeper there, just to be a deeper pocket. And one thing that's worth noting, this little zippered portion is not a functional pocket. It's just there for design. I would love to make that into a functional pocket, and I might just unpick these zippers and use these actual zippers in the new pair. Where this is going to get tricky is if I'm using my green pair here as the template, it's going to be not as straightforward as that, just because I have all these different sections to do. So that to me is going to be like the hardest part of this project. Not undoable, it'll be doable, but it'll just require some, like once I draft the pattern pieces from the green pair, then marking and cutting the tissue paper into the different sections, and then adding seam allowance to it, and then somehow figuring out these pockets. So for now, that is all I'm going to do. I'm going to leave this gray pair intact after all for today, because I think that the next step is going to be tracing these onto the tissue paper and going from there. So that's it for today. As I've mentioned before during this series, I'm kind of keeping these video segments in little bite-sized chunks for a couple of reasons. One, it takes me a little minute to kind of think through the process and figure out, okay, what's the next step? So I just want to film short little clips as I do each next step. And also because it keeps it maybe a little more digestible for you guys. If you haven't seen the previous 3 videos in the series, I will link a playlist down below in the description box. And also at the end of the video, the playlist will pop up on the screen. You may find that helpful to get yourself caught up. You haven't missed too much, because I haven't, because these are little bite-sized pieces and I haven't gotten that far into the process. So it'll be real easy to get caught up if you want to see the steps that I've taken to date. And as I mentioned, the next step in this process will be to draft the pattern that'll be the basis for the pants, and then we'll work on adding in all the features. And that's about it for today. I hope that you'll join me next week when I should have an update for you guys on the new look top that I'm in progress with. That's part of my fall capsule wardrobe. Thanks again for hanging out with me, and I'll talk to you next time. Bye.